Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geography, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Saturday, February 11th, around 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2023. An X-1.1 solar flare kicked off the sun about 8 hours ago. No coronal mass ejection appears to be incoming, but the big story: the death toll rises to 28,000 from the deadly quake in Turkey and Syria. Keep calm. It's boom time. Now, the Turkey-Syria earthquake death toll passes 28,000 as rescue hopes are dwindling. It's been 5 days, over 5 days, and, well, many people have succumbed to the calamity. Now, there are people who have been rescued as long as 10 days out, so fingers are crossed and prayers continue. Super Bowl Sunday, heavy mountain snow is coming to the east. Take a look at this. It looks like there could be quite the system moving through tomorrow, and the full forecast is coming up in just a moment. Midweek storm to bring widespread snow and severe threats. There it is. And we will get to the whole forecast in just a moment. The big story is it's going to be cold in the west, especially Northern California. Now, some Colorado meteorologists are warning that there are going to be 3 to 5 foot drifts ahead of the upcoming storm. And that's good news because we like snow and we love to ski. In fact, the western slope is boasting the best snowfall in a decade. Look at those turns. Fantastic. And get ready for the lights out if you're in California. And the heat to go out as well. With the new green initiatives, let's say, that state is imposing, well, many bad things could be coming to many Democrat-run areas. Quebec last week avoided a blackout despite the frigid Arctic cold snap by importing electricity from New York. Can you imagine that? But it may be out of luck next time, along with the Empire State itself. So just some examples of where all these new, green new ideas are going to get humanity. They're going to get them in a blackout. Let's take a look at the snowfall forecast, shall we? Well, let's run down the general forecast first. Active weather in the mid-Atlantic, southwest, the northwest, and Alaska. A low-pressure system in the mid-Atlantic will bring a heavy wintry mix to the Appalachians with mostly rain elsewhere. Rain showers and mountain snow in Southern California will slowly spread into Arizona. And then a cold front will bring rain and relatively low snow elevations across the northwest and high winds along the Rocky Mountain front. Areas of heavy snow and blizzard conditions are occurring in Alaska as well. There it is in the south near Anchorage. So heads up, that's where most of the people are. Let's walk this through your Sunday. Your fun day, Super Bowl Sunday, that bomb system, that nor'easter is going to move up, and there is your zone of depression in the mountainous regions. It's going to be a wet, heavy snow. In some areas, you're going to be picking up 16 or more inches of the Sierra-type cement. In western Virginia, western North Carolina, and heads up, we could be seeing quite a significant event. Holy mackerel. Actually, you want to see some long-term stuff here. Here is the Tuesday, Wednesday storm that is going to be moving down from the Pacific Northwest. It starts on Monday, moves down through Washington and into Oregon. By Tuesday, snow will be in Northern California and have been spread across Montana, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, western Colorado, and even southern Arizona. Take a look at that. Could be seeing some heavy snow coming in there, as well as the Four Corners region, specifically southwest Colorado, where we are looking at 2 feet in the forecast. And the long term is showing that storm continuing through the Central Plains, through Iowa, through Wisconsin, where the last storm went, another storm behind that, and to add insult to injury, a third system. So that is the long-term forecast through the end of February, and we're sticking with it. Have you seen Oppenheimer Ranch Project's Twitter feed? Well, go over and get it at Diamond the Dave. Links will be below. We posted this amazing footage from the rupture that ripped apart in Turkey, in Hatay, 100-foot deep, 650-foot wide. Locals said they heard the sound of a loud explosion before the earthquake. And this is what they saw when they checked it out. Spectacular, mind-blowing, and blurry, but you do get the point. We're going to run it all the way through because it shows the power of this 7.8 and the fact that we're on a plate boundary here, so a major rupture zone. And just look how the trees on the left and right are just sitting on the edge. They used to once connect. It's almost like plate tectonics in action. Look at that chasm. So this can give you a pretty good understanding on why so many deaths have occurred. Absolutely mind-boggling. So please become a member of our Twitter feed, subscribe to the Oppenheimer Ranch Project at Diamond the Dave, and get the latest updates before the show. Seismic update, no quakes of note. Some increased activity in Hawaii over the last 36 hours. The most recent quake kicking off here, 3.5 in Wyoming, and the aftershocks continue in the Turkey region. Now, we have some interesting developments in Turkey. There might be a new volcano as a result of this massive earthquake. Worldwide volcano news update. Everything is looking quite normal. 26,000 from Nevados de Ruiz, Cotopaxi puffing to 24. Popo, Semaru, Marapi, Fuego, Carinci, and Sangay, all names you've heard of. But take a look at this. News is spreading in Turkey that a new volcano may have formed at a mountain called Kushakasi, close to the Buyukizliki village. Take a look at the ash in the snow there. Videos and images show large amounts of black fluid-like mud that flowed from the upper flank of the mountain where some steaming can be seen. Pretty interesting. The area is close to the major and very devastating magnitude 7.8 earthquake on February 6th, and it is suspected that the large tectonic movements could have caused hot fluids or perhaps even magma to rise towards the surface. Now, this is the last thing Turkey needs, a volcano that is being born because of the massive rupture that caused. In this case, the described events could be interpreted as a phreatic eruption caused by sudden heat transfer to water-saturated rocks near the surface that exploded into steam and forming that mud and steam explosion. If magma is involved at depth, it might even eventually make its way to the surface. So we're keeping a close eye on maybe a new volcanic system forming in Turkey. Space weather news update. We did have that impulsive X flare. Leah and I reported on the radio show basically right after it occurred. But the X-ray flux is dropping off. Even though the sun, let's take a look, is littered with sunspots. This is a major active region. This was kicking off spots before. It appears as if the Earth facing quiet is in effect and everything is going quiet in the low C range. So no imminent geomagnetic storms from any of these events, as we have a very interesting solar max that is completely quiet, even though we're having X-flares. Yeah, I looked at the latest WSA Enlil solar wind prediction. Earlier today, ISWA had a CME coming our way, but the updated data, look at it, showing just a tiny CME coming our way that may make impact on the 15th as nothing. So very little space weather headed our way, even though we just had an X-flare. And this is all due to the fact that we've been dropping down in solar activity for over 20 years. Solar cycle 22, it's over 30 years now. 22, 23, 24, major drop down. And now we are mimicking 24. So we are in the next grand solar minimum. Many people want to name it the Eddy minimum, and that cycle 26 is going to be the worst of the entire sequence of cycles. Now, scientists fear a great toxic dust bowl could soon emerge from the Great Salt Lake. Now, the good news is that the Great Salt Lake has been rising epically over the last few days and few weeks. And so with the runoff and the meltwater, I think that a lot of the fears from the climate alarmists Well, may get washed away in the spring, ding ding, because there's enough water in this year's snow to completely refill Lake Powell. That's a lot of water, but it probably won't happen because it won't all go into Lake Powell. And the water, in fact, is misappropriated. So they give out more water than flows in every year, and if you do that long enough, guess what? There'll be no more water in Lake Powell. But the fact that there's enough water this year to completely refill the lake means that the lake will fill quite a bit. And we will monitor it as the spring runoff occurs and the probably catastrophic flooding in Northern California occurs at the same time. Stay tuned for more boom. SpaceX's interplanetary rocket is firing up its engines. Well, it already has. It was an unprecedented test. SpaceX fired 31 engines on the most powerful rocket ever. This baby is going to take us to Mars, according to the team. They attempted to ignite all 33 engines, but only 31 lit up. And according to Elon Musk and others, that's all they needed to get to the moon or to Mars. So an excellent test of the super heavy Starship. Now, Metu is revealing unusual warm water in the Turkish Black Sea. And guess what? Climate alarmists are all over it. Oh my God, global warming, global warming, global warming. The only problem is the temperature in this area has remained pretty constant for quite some time. What they don't talk about at all in this article is the fact that the Black Sea has mud volcanoes, more than any other water body on Earth. As of today, the number of known offshore mud volcanoes in the Black Sea is 68. And the Black Sea is unique in that it has a hypolimnion, like salad dressing. At a certain depth, there is no oxygen. And below that, there are huge amounts of very nefarious chemicals that are coming from these mud volcanoes. Gas hydrates, in fact, are accumulating at depth. Right here in methane. So this is a natural resource, and even if it does warm up, well, it means that people will be warm in their homes if we utilize the resources. So no fear-mongering needed, just free methane. How do you like them apples? Now, a lot of strange stuff has been happening in the night skies in the last few weeks. Nefarious stuff. First, we located a spy balloon that we allowed to traverse our country until we shot it down offshore of Myrtle Beach. And then a second unidentified object was shot down over Alaska the other day. This object was the size of a small car and is very bizarre, flying around 40,000 feet. According to some pilots, they claim to have seen no identifiable propulsion or a pilot on the object, and could not explain how it was staying in the air, despite the object cruising at an altitude of 40,000 feet. Why they won't tell us the shape of the object is beyond me, but the fact that they knew it didn't have a pilot or propulsion makes it even more bizarre. In a statement Saturday, U.S. Northern Command said they had no new information to share about the object's capabilities, purpose, or origin. Although, according to witnesses, it had no capabilities, it had no propulsion, and it had no pilot. And it gets even weirder. Moments ago, the U.S. military shot down an unidentified object over Canada's Yukon territory. This makes 3 downed objects in just a few days. The object was shot down by a U.S. military fighter jet from the U.S. and Canadians' North American Aerospace Defense Command, Trudeau said. So now we're protecting Canada? Of all places? Now, this isn't the only weird stuff going on. We've got ominous green lasers shooting over Hawaii. And earlier in the week, these lasers were attributed to NASA and one of its space telescopes. But it was confirmed 3 days ago that these lasers were not coming from any NASA spacecraft. They were coming from a Chinese satellite scanning Hawaii. Now, all I think of is Pearl Harbor. What say you? We've got Chinese satellites shooting lasers at Hawaii. 3 objects shot down in the last week. What in the world is going on? We are in the middle of a technological war being fought behind your back. Those are the facts. At the same time, the world's deadliest mushroom is spreading all over the world. And it is the nefarious Amanita phalloides, commonly known as the death cap. Most poisonous mushrooms won't kill you. They'll make you sick. But this baby will take you out. Just eat 1/2 of this cap and you're dead in 6 hours. Of all the reported fatalities of mushrooms worldwide, 90% are due to just one species that comes from Europe, the death cap, which looks like a regular, harmless white mushroom from the supermarket. That's the bad news. Amanita phalloides has spread all over the world. And I remember when we were doing some research as a geologist back in my days of teaching, we would do field trips all over the Northeast. And professors and I would go into the woods with our students and we would locate this mushroom. Time and time again. In New York, in Vermont, in Pennsylvania, in the woods. And the news is that lots of people are getting sick that don't know anything about mushrooms because they look so edible. They look just like the normal mushroom in the store. Let me see if I can find some data here. Because there was a huge explosion in poisonings in California. Here it says, clearly the spread of death caps is a serious risk to humans who may consume them. In 2016, during a particularly bad local outbreak of death caps in San Francisco, 14 poisoning cases in humans were attributed to the mushroom. Usually in the U.S., there are just a few a year. And clearly, Californians are dumber than most. But I do digress. Here's the paper discussing the invasive California death caps and how they are asexually spreading. That's the unique thing. They don't need both sexes to spread. And that means that soon the entire world will be covered, littered with the deadly Amanita phalloides. Now, sophisticated stone tools recently discovered may predate humans. This is amazing because this is 2.9 million year dig. And they found the remains of 2 hominin teeth alongside stone tools and hippo remains that were being butchered. These are more sophisticated than the hominin tools at the time. The most ancient known stone tools from human-like creatures are thought to be 3.3 million years old and were discovered at a site called Lomekwi 3, and we've talked about that. It's in Kenya. The stone tools unearthed in Nyanga were more sophisticated than the rudimentary ones found at Lomekwi 3 and belonged to a style that had been closely linked to the emergence of the Homo genus in more recent times. But these are 2.9 million years old. And these were in association with Palinthropus. Scientists unearthed hammerstones, cores, flakes, and the bones of butchered hippos and 2 teeth belonging to an ancient human-like ape known as Palinthropus. Not a bipedal us, an ape. And that is crazy. So there might have been apes more sophisticated than hominids 3 million years ago, and we may have learned from them. And here's the paper: Expanded Geographic Distribution and Dietary Strategies of the Earliest Oldowan Hominins and Paranthropus. Mind-blowing. Yeah. If everyone could stop taking classified documents home, that would be great. Bad news. Wallace Thornhill. Wal Thornhill. Much loved and devoted husband of 57 years of Faye, a loving father of Nikki, Tanya, and Browen, was a physicist, a cosmologist, a philosopher, an independent thinker. And Wall was a world-leading theorist of the electric universe cosmology. He was the top guy. He was the chief science advisor to the Thunderbolts Project and a science consultant for the Sapphire Project. The celebration of Wall's life will be held at the Chapel of Gold Creek on Friday, the 17th of February at 2 p.m. Wall, we know you're in the Birkeland Current, and you're going exactly where you need to be. We love you, Wall. And that's a boom to knowledge. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. Be safe.